Okay. Okay. All right. Good evening. I welcome you all to this session. So, in the previous class, we discussed about what? We discussed about sources of the Indian Constitution. Before that, we discussed what is Constituent Assembly. In the introduction, we discussed about Constituent Assembly, that is the constitution making body. After that, we told what are the sources from which we borrowed the features to be framed in the Constitution. And we also told, although we borrowed the features, it is not that those principles were directly applied. It was applied with certain modifications as per the needs and wishes of the Indian society. That is, although the objective of the Constitution, of all the Constitution is welfare of the citizens, but to achieve that objective, the path or the road taken may be different. Similarly, it was the case with respect to Indian Constitution, and we also discussed what is the major source of the Indian Constitution, that is Government of India Act 1935. But when we talk about in general, it is the people, because in the preamble we say that we the people have solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So, when we talk about that, people comes into picture. So, it is the people who gave the constitution for themselves. So, the biggest source is who? People. Next comes Government of India Act 1935, and so many features we borrowed from British Constitution, obviously because we were under the British rule. Okay, so we borrowed from British Constitution. Next, US Constitution. Okay, and in US Constitution we borrowed features like fundamental rights, judiciary. Judiciary is from Government of India Act. Independent judiciary is from US Constitution. Okay, all these things. Impeachment of the president. Okay, vice president acting as a chairman of the upper house. All these things we borrowed from US Constitution. Like that, we learned about Irish Constitution, Canadian Constitution, also South African Constitution, Weimar Constitution, Japanese, Russian, okay, French Constitution. All these things we learnt. Now, in this class, we will learn about parts and schedules of the Constitution. From this definitely you can expect a question. Parts and schedules of the Constitution. From this definitely you can expect a question. Parts and schedules. So, parts and schedules of the Constitution. Okay, parts means you can take it as index of the Constitution. You can take it as parts. What do you mean by schedules? Schedules means chapters in the Constitution. Schedules means chapters in the Constitution. Parts means it is index of the Constitution. Schedules means chapters, each of the chapters in the Constitution. Now, we are going to learn what are the parts, how many parts are there, and in the original Constitution how many parts were there, and now how many parts are there. Similarly, we will also learn schedules. Okay, now coming to parts, let us start with the parts of the Indian Constitution. When I say parts, you have to understand that in the parts of the Constitution, Indian Constitution, in the original Constitution there were 22 parts. In the original Constitution there are 22 parts, and I will also tell you how to remember the parts. I will give you certain mnemonics for you to remember, so that you do not have to by heart things. Just by understanding the mnemonics, you will be able to understand what are the parts. You will be able to remember all the 22 parts. Now, I told you original Constitution. Original Constitution means the Constitution that we had on 26 January 1950. Okay, there can be a question, what is the date of commencement of the Constitution? That is 26 January 1950 is the commencement of the Constitution. That is, start of the Constitution is 26 January 1950. Okay, but Constitution came into force, or Constitution was framed when? 26 November 1949. But if they ask commencement of the Constitution, it is this one. Okay, that is, start of the Constitution is 26 January 1950. On this date, how many parts we had? 22. At present, what we have? 25 parts. That means what? There are 3 parts. 3 parts extra. That is, 3 parts extra is there. That is through what? That is through by the amendments of the Constitution. Good. Amendments of the Constitution. What do you mean by amendments? I told you. Amendments means we make certain changes in the Constitution. Okay, the Constitution makers at that time, they were very well aware with the changing needs of the society, there should be changes in the Constitution itself. That means it is not like completely changing the Constitution. Certain features of the Constitution should be changed or modified, or should be added, or should be deleted. Delete, we also call it in constitutional terms, or law terms we call it as repeal. Okay, so amendments means changes in the Constitution. Changes in the constitution. What are these changes? We can add something, like we have added 3 parts here. Okay, we can add something, or we can delete something. Delete means it is also called repeal. Okay, repeal. I told you about Article 370. I told you about Article 370. Actually, it is not delete or something. It has become inoperative. It has become abrogated. Article 370. It is still there, but it is become non-functional. That's all. It is not deleted. That you must understand. And next thing is changes means you can say some modification in the constitution. Some modification in the constitution. Okay. Yesterday, while talking about judiciary, I also told you about Chief Justice of India. Okay, there one changes you have to make. When I talk about Chief Justice of India, at present we have 51st Chief Justice, that is Sanjeev Khanna. Okay, but now, as of now, we have 52nd. We have 52nd that you have to be updated. 52nd, that person is called B.R. Gavai or Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai. Okay, B.R. Gavai or Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai. Okay, I think it is just a temporary arrangement. He will be there up till November 23rd, that is 6 months. Okay, B.R. Gavai, and very important, this is the first Buddhist. Okay, he is the first Buddhist Chief Justice of India. That is, his religion is Buddhism. That is the meaning, which is called first Buddhist. Okay, this you must be knowing. First Buddhist. Okay, first Buddhist, and also second Dalit Chief Justice of India. Second Dalit Chief Justice of India. This you must be knowing. Okay, this information you must know. So I was telling about amendments. Let us not deviate from the topic. Here we are talking about parts and schedules. So there are 22 parts. Now there are 25 parts because of amendment. Okay, so let us continue from here. Let us move forward. So this becomes what? Parts of the constitution. Parts of the Indian constitution. We have to learn one by one now. I told you there are 22 parts. Let us learn each of them. Okay, let us learn each of them. So carefully observe here, parts of the Indian constitution. Part 1, it is talking about union and its territory. What union? Union of India and its territory. Territory means the places that we have. So union and its territory it is talking. Okay, union means Union of India. Okay, and its territory. So that means it is talking about Union of India. So Union of India, at present how many states are there? At present India has how many states? Wonderful. So Indian Union, at present we have how many states? We have 28 states. We have 28 states and 8 union territories. 28 states and 8 union territories. This one definitely you must know. 28 states and 8 union territories. What are those 8 union territories? One is Delhi. Okay, one is Delhi, National Union Territory. Okay, Delhi is National Capital Territory. Next is, Delhi after that comes nearby is Chandigarh. And we had a state called Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, now there is not a state. We removed the statehood of Jammu and Kashmir. We made it a union territory. That is Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory and Ladakh. Ladakh is also a union territory. This is 4. What are the remaining 4? So one is Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Okay, Daman and Diu were separate and Dadra and Nagar Haveli were separate, but they are clubbed together. Now they are made as a single union territory. Okay, if you see the Indian map here, okay, on the western coast, you will have Daman and Diu here, Dadra and Nagar Haveli here. The both are clubbed. Okay, so Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, this is the 5th one. 6th is Andaman and Nicobar. 7th is Lakshadweep, and 8th is Puducherry. I told you certain changes can be made in the constitution. It was called Pondicherry, now we call it as Puducherry. That is the meaning of making changes. Got it? So these are the 8 union territories. So you must understand that on 2nd June 2014, this date you must know. You must already be knowing. 2nd June 2014, statehood of Telangana. At that time, India had how many states? 29 states. Okay, but 5th August, when it comes to 5th August 2019, we have 28 states. Why? On this date, Jammu and Kashmir was made a union territory along with Ladakh. Okay, from 5th August 2019, 28 states. 2nd June 2014, it was 29 states. So This much knowledge is enough when it comes to union and its territory. Next, citizenship. Okay, part 2 talks about citizenship. I told you India has single citizenship. You are called a citizen of India, not citizen of Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Karnataka. You are just called a citizen of India. But in US it is different. In US what? We have dual citizenship. You can be called a citizen of US, or you can be called citizen of California, or you can call a citizen of Texas, something like that. Okay. Next is fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the most discussed part of the Indian Constitution, and most elaborate discussion in the Constituent Assembly took place when it comes to fundamental rights. So fundamental rights is part 3. Okay, fundamental rights was in original Constitution itself, and we had how many fundamental rights? 7, and another one was removed. That is right to property was removed through 44th Constitutional Amendment. That is 7 out of 7. One was removed. Now it is 6. One is right to property that was removed through 44th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is 1978. Next is coming to Directive Principles of State Policy. Part 4, Directive Principles of State Policy. Fundamental rights, it is also called Bill of Rights in USA. We borrowed from US Constitution. Next, coming to Directive Principles of State Policy, we borrowed from where? Irish Constitution. Correct? No? We borrowed from Irish Constitution. I will keep repeating so that it becomes a revision for you. So, Directive Principles of State Policy we borrowed from Irish Constitution. This is part 4. And also you have to understand the first letters I am underlining, because when I tell the mnemonics you will be able to connect. Okay. Now, part 5, fundamental duties. Part 5 is fundamental duties. Yeah, fundamental duties. It was not in the original Constitution. Original means the Constitution that was there in 26 January 1950. Okay. So, this was added through 42nd Constitutional Amendment of 1976. This Constitution Amendment of 42nd is also called as what? It is also called as mini Constitution. Got it? It is also called as what? Mini Constitution. It is also called as mini Constitution. Okay, at that time 10 fundamental duties were there. Now we have 11 fundamental duties. The 11th was added in 2005, that is right to education. Right to education was made a right, and also it was made what? Fundamental duty. Okay, that is 11 fundamental duties is about education, what parents should do with respect to education. Next, coming to part 6 is talking about union government. Okay, so this is actually part 4A is fundamental duties. Here we are writing part 5. Actually in the original Constitution we have, the original Constitution means in the Holy Book of Constitution it is written as part 4A, fundamental duties. Part 4 is Directive Principles of State Policy, and part 6 is union government. Similarly, part 7 is state government. Union government means what? It is the Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, and we also have Attorney General. Attorney General means suppose a case is going on. Okay, suppose a case is going on, you are the public, okay, I am the government. Someone has to appear for me on behalf of the government. That person, that lawyer is called Attorney General, who will fight for the government. Okay, who will fight for the government, we will fight in favor of the government. That person is called what? Attorney General. Okay, you must have seen in so many movies and all these things. If you see Jai Bhim, okay, one person comes against Surya, okay, he will be Advocate General or Attorney General, some person. So he will be welcomed very well, but he will lose the case against Surya. You must have seen in Jai Bhim. Okay, that person, there we refer it as Advocate General or Attorney General. So that person is the person who is appearing for the state. Appearing for the state means he is appearing for the government. So that is Attorney General. Now when it comes to state government, we have CM, Council of Ministers. Here instead of Attorney General at the state level we have what? Advocate General. There it is Attorney General, here it is Advocate General. Okay, next coming to part 8, it is talking about union territories. There we spoke about union and its territory, that is whole of India and its states and union territories. That is 28 states and 8 union territories is spoken in part 8, part 1. When it comes to part 8, it is talking only about union territories. Union territories means how the functioning of union territories should take place, how the administration of union territories should take place. The word itself says union territories. That means union means what? It is talking about central government. When it comes to union territories, central government has direct powers. They will appoint a lieutenant governor or they will appoint a commissioner of the union territories. Directly they will appoint. That person will be working in favor of the union government. You can see in Delhi there will be a lieutenant governor, that is LG we call it as. So union territories are under the control of, directly under the control of union government. Okay, so how the rules are made, how the provisions of the Constitution are there, it is given in part 8 when it comes to union territories. Got it? Now part 9, panchayats, that is local self government. how the local bodies have to function. At the rural level, it is panchayats. Part 9A is municipalities. Same local government at the level of urban bodies. Okay, urban bodies, cities. Okay, towns, cities. We have municipalities for smaller cities, and municipal commissions or municipal whatever it is for bigger cities. Okay, we have GHMC for Hyderabad. That is what? Municipal commission, like that. Okay. Next, part 9B is cooperative societies. Part 9B actually it was not there. A means it is nothing but amendment. 9B is also an amendment. Cooperative societies. This is highly important. There can be a question because in the recently means in the previous government when was formed, there was a ministry that was formed, that is called Ministry of Cooperation. Ministry of Cooperation was not there. That was formed recently in the previous government. It is called Ministry of Cooperation. Ministry of Cooperation was held by then Home Minister, that is Amit Shah. It is held by him only now also. Okay. So, Ministry of Cooperation. Ministry of Cooperation. It comes from cooperative societies and it is part 9B. So, you must be aware of this. Got it? Part 9B is important. From there cooperative societies come. From there Ministry of Cooperation draws power and the Minister of Cooperation is Amit Shah at that time. Okay. Next thing, part 10, scheduled and tribal areas. Part 10 is talking about scheduled and tribal areas, that is the areas where there are scheduled people, that is scheduled caste people or scheduled tribe people, all these things. Tribal areas, certain areas where forest areas where tribal people dwell because they have their unique culture. For them you cannot apply the same rule that you apply in the cities or some normal towns. For them you have to give some liberty because you have to respect their culture. Okay. So, the provisions of the constitution for them is little different. Okay. All the laws of the parliament cannot apply directly to them. They have to apply with some modification, or you cannot apply certain laws. Okay. That you will understand when I talk about 5th schedule and 6th schedule. Okay. 5th schedule is talking about scheduled areas, 6th schedule is talking about tribal areas. So, this is about part 10 is talking about scheduled and tribal areas. Till now we understood part 1 to part 10. Now, let us see the mnemonic, that is the trick to remember part 1 to part 10. Okay. There are 22 parts. Part 1 to part 10 there is one trick. Part 11 to 16 there is one trick. Part 17 to 22 there is one trick to remember. So, now let us see what is the trick. So, the trick here is you can fly directly from US to UP. You can fly directly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. Or if you want to make mnemonic of your own, you can make it. Okay, but the first letter should be same. See, I am telling you can fly directly from part 1 to 10, if you have to remember, you can fly directly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. Okay, you can fly directly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. So, here U is representing what? U is representing union and territories, C is representing citizenship, F is representing fundamental rights, D is representing DPSPs, U is representing union and territories, C is representing citizenship, F is representing fundamental rights, this is DPSP, okay, DPSP, this is fundamental duties. Fundamental duties, US together, why? Because this is representing union government and state government. Okay, this is union government and this is state government. This is UP is what? Union territories. U is nothing but union territories and P is nothing but panchayats. M is municipalities. This is cooperative societies. Okay, this is with respect to scheduled and tribal areas. Got it? This is how you remember part 1 to part 10. No need to by heart. If you remember this, it's enough. But I told there extensively because there are certain provisions of the constitution which you have to understand, so that if question comes you will be able to answer, you will be confident to answer, because this keeps repeating in multiple chapters. That's why I am telling it now itself in a brief way. So, part 1 to part 10 you have to remember, you can fly directly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. That's it. Okay. Now, let us continue. Now, part 11. Part 11 is talking about relation between union and states. I told you India, we are a federation, that means central government has some power and state government has some power, and those powers are shared between us, that is between central and state government. When we talk about sharing the power, there should be some relation. How do you share? Okay, there should be some relation. What are the relations that we can have? One is administrative relation, another one is executive relation, another one is financial relation. Administrative relation means certain laws only central government can make, certain laws only state government can make. Executive relations, implementation of the laws. Okay, certain projects central government will come and make, certain projects it will give funds to the state government will execute those projects. Okay, that is the meaning of executive relation. Next, financial relation. Financial relation means you know that whatever with the tax we pay or the GST we pay, it will go to the central government, and the central government, there is some finance commission. There is some finance commission. As per the finance commission, for each state the tax will be distributed. Okay, there are certain performance criteria also, like population, fertility rate, all these things. As per that, they will distribute the tax. Okay, just because you collect more tax, that doesn't mean that you will get the more tax. That is one complaint we South Indians have, because we are paying the more tax, but we are getting back less. Correct? No. But North Indians are paying less tax, but they are getting our tax money more. More of it is distributed to them. Okay, that is the meaning of financial relation. That is devolution of funds. How it is given to states, how the states give it in turn to panchayats. Okay, this is nothing but about devolution of funds. This is nothing but we call it as devolution of funds. Okay, this is the financial relation. Next, finance, property, contracts and suits. So part 12 talks about finance, property, contracts and suits. That is, if you want to buy a property, how it should be done, what is the registration. Suppose you go to taluk office or whatever, how registration has to be done, how the stamp should be, what is the procedure, all these things are there. When it comes to contracts, we see a lot of tenders, central government tenders, state government tenders for building something, all these things. That is the meaning of contract. Suits means it is nothing but related to laws. Okay, that's it. Now, part 3. This is part 13. It is talking about trade, commerce and intercourse within the territory of India. Okay, this is talking about trade, commerce and intercourse within the territory of India. Okay, part 13 is talking like this. Now, when we talk about this, part 13 is talking about trade, commerce and intercourse within the territory of India. Next, when we talk about part 14 is also highly important. Okay, part 14 is also highly important. It is talking about services under the union and the state. Okay, part 14 is also talking about services under the union and state. Now, part 14 is talking about services under the union and state. So this you must understand very carefully. Part 14 question has been asked. Services under the union and state means there are some services called group A service, group B service. At the central level also, state level also, you have group 1, group 2, all this. Okay, at the central level there are certain services which we call it as all India service. All India service means it comes under, what are the services that come under it? IAS, IPS, also Indian Forest Service, IFOS, Indian Forest Service. These services come under all India service. So services under the union and states comes under part 14. Now another one part 14A, tribunals. Part 14A is tribunals. Tribunals means it is nothing but court. See, as of now you can see the local courts, district courts and also high court and supreme court, they have lot of cases pending before them. Okay, certain cases have to be executed very fast. So instead of going to the normal courts, there is outside the court settlement, that is called tribunals. Okay, where judgments will be given very fast. That doesn't mean that they won't follow the constitution. As per the constitution only they will do it, but the process will be fast. Fast track courts you can say. The tribunals, for example, we had an issue, water issue between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Okay, it is Kaveri water issue. Okay, Kaveri water issue, for that we have Kaveri tribunal. So whenever there is a legal fight between them, it will be settled in a tribunal. Instead of going to Supreme Court, High Court, it will take lot of time. So outside the court settlement, that we call it as tribunal. So tribunal is also a type of court. When we study about judiciary, you will learn about Supreme Court, High Court, also we will study about tribunal. So tribunal was added through an amendment, that is part 14A. This is the meaning of tribunal. Understood? Clear. Next, coming to part 15, very important, elections. How the elections has to take place, what are the procedure that has to be followed before the elections and after the elections. Okay, what is the model code of conduct, okay, when it is active, when it is not active, how the counting should take place, all this procedure, who is the polling officer, all these things are given in part 15, that is elections. Next, part 16, special provisions related to SCs and STs. Okay, that is they are the vulnerable section, backward section, so we have to uplift them. That is what was the motive of what? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, father of our constitution, founding father of our constitution. So part 16 talks about what? Special provisions related to SCs and STs. Okay, that is in part 16. Now from part 10 to part 1 to part 10 we understood the mnemonic, that is you can fly directly from US to UP to meet child of Sachin. Now part 11 to 16 how to remember, we will see. Trick 2 is read from start to end for success. Okay, any book you have to read from start to end for success. Just if you read some chapters, definitely you will not get success. Okay, you have to study everything, then only you will get success, because you can answer any question that comes if you have studied it comprehensively from start to end. That is what it means. So, read from start to end for success. That is the mnemonic to remember parts from 11 to 16. Okay, part 11 to 16 if you have to remember, read from the start to end for success. Read from the start to end for success. R is talking about what? Relation between center and state. Okay, F is talking about finance, contracts, suits, all these things. Okay, T is talking about what? T is talking about what? What is T talking about? Tribunals. This is what? 11. This is 12. This is part 13. Is it tribunal? What is it? T. Think about it. S is talking about what? Services under the union and state. S is talking about services under union and state. This is part 14a. It is talking about tribunals. Okay. This is talking about elections. This is talking about elections. This is talking about special provisions related to SC and ST. What is 13 talking about? What is 13 talking about? Trade, commerce and intercourse within the territory of India. Understood? Just don't worry. You have to try to remember like this, then it will be easy for you to remember. You don't have to by heart. Okay. So, first trick you remember, second trick is you have to what? Read from start to end for success. Read from start to end for success, that is the mnemonic. Okay. So, let us proceed. So, this is what when it comes to the trick. Now, let us learn from part 17 to 22. Part 17 to 22, part 17 to 22 we have to learn. Part 17 to 22. Part 17 is talking about official languages. Now, I will not tell in depth about official language. Again, in schedules it will come. In 8th schedule, we have official languages. So, there I will tell about official language. Now, emergency provisions. I told you yesterday also, emergency provisions means we will learn about emergency provisions is borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Emergency provisions we talk about national emergency, state emergency and financial emergency. This is the meaning of emergency provisions. Part 19 is miscellaneous. Miscellaneous means it is leftover, whatever is remaining. That is part 19 is spoken. Okay. Next, coming to part 20, amendment of the constitution. Part 20 is talking about amendment of the constitution. Amendment of the constitution is given under article 368. Amendment of the constitution is borrowed from what? Is borrowed from South Africa. Amendment of the constitution is borrowed from South Africa. Correct? No. Amendment of the constitution is borrowed from South Africa. So, amendment of the constitution, I told you what do you mean by amendment. That is we change the major changes we make in the constitution. That is the meaning of amendment of the constitution. Next, part 21 is talking about temporary, transitional and special provisions. Temporary means the word itself says they are not permanent. Transitional means that is you can change from one to another. Suppose you make it from one state, that you can change it to another state also. That is the meaning of transitional. Now, special provisions. Special provisions means you make it with respect to certain vulnerable sections like women, like elderly people, like differently abled people. That is the meaning of special provisions. Okay. Special provisions already it is given for SC and ST. For other people, other vulnerable people like women, children and elderly people, there are special provisions. That is given under part 21. Part 22, it is talking about short title, commencement, authoritative text in Hindi and repeals. That is, it is talking about how the constitution is written. Okay. What is the commencement of the constitution? What is the short title? Okay, what is the authoritative text in Hindi and its repeals? What are the things that are removed in the constitution? That is given in part 22. This is the last part. Okay, that is given in this part. Now, this is very funny, but you have to remember this. Okay, what is the trick? One elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. One elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. Because if you don't trample that ant, it will climb on the elephant, it will bite the elephant, it cannot remove it. Okay, it will be very painful for the elephant. That's why it knew immediately, that is why it trampled it. One elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. Okay, this is the trick you have to remember for part 17 to 22. So, okay, one elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. Okay, so one elephant, one is talking about what? O is talking about official language. E is talking about emergency provisions. M is talking about what? Miscellaneous. I know it is visible, don't look at it. M is miscellaneous. A is talking about what? Amendment of the constitution. And T is talking about what? temporary and transitional provisions, and SC is talking about short title. Okay, like this you remember, you revise it once or twice. This trick you have to remember, then it will be easy for you. First trick is what? You can fly directly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. Second trick is read from start to end for success. This is one elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. So this is about parts of the constitution. Parts means I told index. Now let us study the schedules of the constitution. Let us study the schedules of the constitution. Okay. Now when we talk about schedules, in the original constitution, there were 8 schedules. In the original constitution, look at this, in the original constitution there were only 8 schedules, but when you talk about present constitution, we have 12 schedules. Okay, that means what? These 4 were added through amendment. Got it? What are those amendments? What are those 4 schedules that are added? That we will learn now. Now let us start with the schedules. Each of them one by one we will learn. Okay. First schedule contains the list of the states and union territories and their territories. Okay. First schedule consists of names of the states and their territories and union territories. That is, first schedule talks about the list of the states, what are the states that were and the union territories. That is what is given. It is straightforward, it is self-explanatory, I need not explain much. Okay. Now because already I told you how many states we have, how many union territories we have, already I explained. Next, coming to second schedule, provisions. Okay, second schedule actually it contains emoluments and allowances. Emoluments and allowances means how much money will be paid for as salary for certain government positions. Okay, what are those positions? You can take it as president, governor, judges of Supreme Court and High Court, okay, speaker and deputy speaker of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, speaker and deputy speaker of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. But when I talk about Rajya Sabha, we call it as chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha and state legislative councils. Certain states have only assembly, but certain states have both assembly and also council. That is, we have Vidhana Parishad and Vidhana, what do we call it? Sabha. That is there. Okay, Vidhana Parishad and Vidhana Sabha both are there. Okay, certain states. What do we have in Telangana? Do we have both? You don't know. That you find out the answer and tell me. Okay, certain states have both upper house and lower house. That is, legislative assembly as legislative council. Okay, now emoluments and allowances of such people is given in second schedule. Okay, when money is given, that means you have to perform the duty, but before performing the duty, you have to take the oath. Okay, the oath is nothing but what? मैं ईश्वर के शपथ लेते हो, that is, you can see the prime minister oath, or you can see certain movies, Madali Sivaradhyana Nano, Allah, like you can see in certain movies. Okay, that is the meaning of oaths and affirmation. That is third schedule is talking about forms of oaths and affirmations, that is given in third schedule. Okay, if you have to perform the duty, if you have to take the salary, first you have to take the oath. But when it comes to oath, you have to be serious here. When it comes to oath, the president takes the oath as the defender of the constitution. There are other oaths also he takes, but the president takes oath as defender of the constitution. Why I am telling you? There can be a question. Who is the defender of the constitution? In the options you will have Supreme Court, in the options you will have governor, in the answers you will have prime minister, in the options you will have president. The answer is president. Only president takes the oath as defender of the constitution and nobody else. Okay, defender of the constitution, only president. Understand this. Only president takes the oath as defender of the constitution. This you must understand. What about Supreme Court? Supreme Court judge takes the oath as safeguard and guarantor of fundamental rights. Okay, if they ask a question, who safeguards the constitution, who is the guarantor of fundamental rights, it is Supreme Court. Okay, who safeguards the constitution or who is the guarantor of fundamental rights? Because it is Supreme Court. Because if the government takes any action which is not as per the provisions of the constitution, that time Supreme Court comes into picture and safeguards the constitution, and also it guarantees the fundamental rights of the citizen. So who is the guarantor of fundamental rights? It is not the president, it is Supreme Court. Who is the defender of the constitution? It is president. This much you have to remember, very important. Okay, these 2 points are highly important. Next, coming to 4th schedule, provisions of allocation of seats in the Council of States. Council of States means, I told you, listen here, I told you there is parliament, we have Loka Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Loka Sabha is called lower house, Rajya Sabha is called upper house. Okay, it is also called House of People. This is also called Council of States. When I speak about Rajya Sabha, okay, in Rajya Sabha, the word Rajya itself says it is talking about states. In Rajya Sabha, the seats are given to each of the states as per the population. Okay, Uttar Pradesh has more population than Telangana. Definitely, it has more seats in the Rajya Sabha compared to Telangana. And Goa has very less population compared to Telangana. That's why it will have less seats in Rajya Sabha compared to Telangana. So, as per the population, seats are allocated for each state in the Rajya Sabha. That is given by what? 4th schedule. So, seats in the Rajya Sabha is given in 4th schedule. Okay. Now, 5th schedule. 5th schedule talks about administration and control of scheduled areas. Scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Scheduled areas and scheduled tribes is given by 5th schedule. Okay. How it should be administered? What do you mean by district council? They have an autonomous district council. All these things you will study in 5th schedule. 5th schedule is one topic we will study. 5th and 6th schedule we will study as 2 units. We will study as 1 unit. Okay. I will take a separate class on 5th and 6th schedule because highly important. Because definitely there are vulnerable sections, scheduled tribes and also tribal areas. There will be a question. Okay. The commission, that is TGPSC or whatever, they will focus on such acts and policies. If you know this, it will be easy for you to remember. Now, what about 5th schedule? It is talking about control and administration of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Next, 6th schedule, it is talking about administration of other tribal areas. Okay, already scheduled tribes is there in 5th schedule. But what about other tribal areas? Other tribal areas in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. That is, I will ask you to remember as AMTM. AMTM, A refers to Assam, M refers to Meghalaya, T refers to not Telangana, it is Tripura, it is Mizoram. Okay, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. It is not Manipur. It is not Manipur. M is Meghalaya. Okay, M is Meghalaya. Another one is Mizoram. Okay, okay, Meghalaya you remember as Megha. Mizoram if you remember as Miapur. That's it. Okay, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura, Assam. Okay, AMTM. So 6th schedule is talking about AMTM, that is other tribal areas in the states of AMTM. This you have to remember. 7th schedule talks about this one, union list, state list and concurrent list. 7th schedule is talking about what? It is talking about federal list. Federal list means it is talking about what? It is talking about the division of powers. Actually, suppose there is a power, we have something called separation of power and there is division of power. Okay, division of power. This is called horizontal division of power. Horizontal means separation of power means here the power will be distributed between 3 organs of the government, that is legislature, executive and judiciary. Okay, legislature, executive and judiciary. Division of power means it is between union government and state government. This is divided in the form of union list, concurrent list and state list. That is given in 7th schedule. That is given in 7th schedule. Then I told you while talking about part what? Which part was that? Part 17, official languages. Official languages. Okay, official languages I told you I will discuss when I talk about schedules. So 8th schedule talks about official languages. Okay, 8th schedule talks about official languages. In the original constitution we had 14 official languages, then it became 18. At present we have 22. At present we have 22. My question to you is English an official language? Those who are watching live you can comment, or you people you have to know by yourself. English is an official language or not? You check. Yes or no? Okay. If it is an official language, if it is not, why it is being used in the court? In the court, English is being used, correct? No? So think about it whether it is official language or not, English. Okay, think about it, think and answer. If it is wrong or right, it's okay, but you have to think and answer tomorrow. Okay, so 8th schedule contains 22 official languages. Next, recently which are the languages that was added that you must know. Recently 3 languages added, that is 20, 21, 22, that you must know. Next thing is 9th schedule contains validation of certain acts and regulation. 9th schedule is talking about actually land reforms. 9th schedule is talking about land reforms. Okay, got it. 9th schedule is talking about land reforms. Actually in the parts we missed out something. In the parts there is one of the parts talks about land reforms. Land reforms means you must understand Okay, at that time the land was completely taken over by the British. After the independence, so many people were landless. So land reform means it is land to the landless. Okay, who will plow in the land? He is the owner of the land. That was the act of the government. Okay, land ceiling act, all these things were followed. Okay, land reforms. Land reform means main thing is you must remember land to the landless. That was brought through by land reforms. It was this ninth schedule came through first Constitutional Amendment Act, that is in 1952. That is when? In 1952. First Constitutional Amendment Act, land reforms. It is land reforms. Land reforms is in 9th schedule. I told you there were only 8 schedules. 9th schedule was added to the first Constitutional Amendment Act, and it is talking about land reforms, that is 1952. First Constitutional Amendment Act 1952. Now let us talk about 10th schedule, disqualification on the grounds of defection. You should know 10th schedule is talking about defection. What do you mean by defection? Okay, 10th schedule, 9th schedule was added through first Constitutional Amendment Act. 10th schedule was added through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985. Okay, what does defection mean? Defection means, suppose you are in some party A, and you are in party B, but that party wins the election. So what you will do is you will jump from this party to that party. Okay, that is the meaning of defection. Okay, so many time such people used to do in 1980s and 1990s. Okay, there were 2 persons, they used to change the party every 2 months. That time the word they used is Ayaram Gayaram. Ayaram Gayaram, that is the word that they use. Okay, Ayaram Gayaram. Now when you see some people will win BJP, immediately they will jump to Congress. From Congress they will go to BRS. From BRS they will go to TDP or whatever, they will go to states only, they will go to Jansena, something like that. They will keep jumping. When they keep jumping, what will happen? Suppose a government is formed using those people, when they keep jumping, what will happen? The government will become unstable. That when the government is not stable, proper functioning of the administration won't take place when people keep jumping parties. So to avoid that, people who jump from party to party, they will be disqualified. Okay, they will be disqualified on the grounds of defection. That is the meaning of defection. That was added through 10th Constitution. That is added through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985. That is added through 10th schedule. Okay, this is the meaning of defection. That is jumping from party to party. You have to remember defection. Okay, now 11th schedule, it is talking about panchayats. 11th schedule is added through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992, and 12th schedule is talking about municipalities. It was added through 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992-1993. Okay, so 11th schedule is talking about panchayats and 12th schedule is talking about municipalities. That's it. So these are all the schedules you have to remember. Now how to remember the 12 schedules? There is a trick for this also. The trick is TRs of old PM. TRs of old PM you have to remember. What do you mean by TRs of old PM? Let us see now. Okay, TRs of old PM, this is the trick. I hope you understood what do you mean by schedules. Okay, so we learned in detail about the 12 schedules. So now let us understand the trick to remember the 12 schedules. So what is the trick that we have to use? So the trick is TRs of old PM. So T is talking about territory, that is name of states and their territory, TRs of old PM. E is talking about what? E is talking about emoluments. Emoluments of president, governor, okay, speaker and deputy speaker, chairman and deputy chairman, all these things. A is talking about what? Affirmations, oaths and affirmations. Oaths I told you. That is oaths and affirmation is spoken by A. Okay. R is talking about allocation of seats to Rajya Sabha. That is 4th schedule. 4th schedule is talking about Rajya Sabha. S is talking about scheduled areas. S is talking about scheduled areas. O is talking about other scheduled areas. O is talking about other scheduled areas, that is they have written as 80 mm, or you can remember it as AMTM. That is Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Next is F. F is talking about what? F is talking about federal list. Federal list is nothing but 3 lists, that is division of powers between union government, central government and state government in the form of union list, state list and concurrent list. That is federal list is spoken by which schedule is this? 7th schedule. And another O is talking about official languages. Official languages. And this 9th schedule, till here it was there in the original constitution. From LDPM it is added through amendments. L is talking about land reforms, D is talking about defections, and P is talking about panchayats, and M is talking about municipalities. Clear? So this is how you remember tiers of old PM. Okay, part 1 to 10. You remember like how? You can directly fly from US to UP to meet the child of Sachin. Next is what? Read from start to end for success. That is part 11 to 16. Part 72 to 22 is an elephant met an ant and trampled it suddenly. So when it comes to schedules, you have to remember it as what? Tiers of old PM. Now, having studied all this, let us solve some questions based on parts and schedules of the Constitution. Okay. Now, the question is, which of the following states is included in the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution? What is the answer? 6th schedule is talking about what? Other scheduled areas in the states of Nagaland is there, Manipur is there, Mizoram is there, Arunachal Pradesh is there. What is the answer? Mizoram, because we are talking about AMTM, that is Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Okay, let us proceed with other questions. Look at this. They are asking which schedule deals with the languages recognized by the Constitution. Which schedule? First schedule is talking about list of states and their territories. Second schedule is talking about emoluments. This is talking about territories. Third schedule is talking about what? Oaths and affirmations. And fourth schedule is talking about Rajya Sabha. Okay. Which schedule is talking about languages recognized by the Constitution? That is not in the answer is not there. The answer is option D. None of this, or you can write it as it is 8th schedule. Got it? 8th schedule. The answer is 8th schedule. 7th schedule is talking about federalist. 8th schedule is talking about languages. Okay. 8th schedule is talking about languages. Next, which schedule contains provisions in administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes? They are not talking about other tribal areas. They are talking about scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Which schedule? 7th schedule is talking about what? Federal list. 6th schedule is talking about what? Other tribal areas. 5th schedule is talking about scheduled areas. So it is, the answer is 5th schedule. 6th is other tribal areas in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. So 7th schedule is talking about what? Federal list, that is union list, central concurrent list and state list. 8th schedule is official languages. Clear? Next. Allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha. Allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha is which schedule? Allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha is which schedule? 8th schedule is talking about what? Language. 9th schedule land reforms. 10th schedule defection. 11th schedule is what? 11th schedule is what? 11th schedule is panchayats. 12th schedule is municipalities. Here there is no answer. Rajya Sabha allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha is 4th schedule. Why I have not written? Because I wanted to revise this again. 4th schedule is talking about Rajya Sabha. Okay, first schedule is list of states and territories. Second is emoluments. Third is oaths and affirmations. Fourth is talking about allocation of seats to Rajya Sabha. Fifth is scheduled areas. Sixth is other tribal areas. Got it? Next, which schedule contains anti-defection provisions for the member of parliament and state legislature? 10th schedule. 10th schedule is talking about defections. 10th is defections. 12th is municipalities. 13 is there. 13 there is no 13th schedule. There is no 14th schedule. We have only 12 schedules. So 10th is talking about defections. Clear? Okay. Now look at this. The 9th schedule of the Indian Constitution was introduced using the Prime Ministership of whom? Think and answer. So 9th schedule was added through first constitutional amendment. First constitutional amendment took place in 1952. At that time, who was the Prime Minister of our country? Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, Indira Gandhi, it was in 1970s, 1969, 70 and always afterwards. So at that time, so 9th schedule is talking about land reforms. It was in the year first constitutional amendment act in 1952. Okay, it is by under the Prime Ministership of Jawaharlal Nehru. That is option A. Got it? Option A. It was not Shastri, it was not Maharaja Desai. Maharaja Desai is 1980s. Indira Gandhi 72, 77, something like that. So the answer is Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, that's all for today. Okay, so I hope it was useful when it comes to parts and schedules. Mainly you have to remember the tricks. definitely there will be questions from parts and schedules, and you have to go through these questions again. You have to revise these questions again, and thank you so much for attending. Okay, please revise the concepts again. Please revise the previous classes so that it becomes crystal clear for you to attend the questions. Okay, let's meet in the next session. Thank you.